The resistance movement against the Indian rule and militarization of Kashmiri society, as we know it today, has been ongoing for more than 70 years. Let's revisit how women were affected and participated in some of these pivotal moments in Kashmiri history. In 1931, a few thousand men and women came to Central Jail Srinagar to witness the trial of Abdul Qadir and demand his release. The Dogra forces opened fire on the protesters, killing 22 people, including a woman named Mughal. In this uprising against the Dogra rule, women organized processions to demand freedom. For this, they were jailed, subjected to violence, and targeted rape. More than a decade later, in the plebiscite movement of 1946, women organized in large numbers outside the jail and in the streets, demanding the right to self-determination. Popular leaders like Zuna Bibi Mujahid and Raja of Srinagar were among a few others who emerged during this period. In the subsequent decades, a new wave of political expression emerged in the 1980s as young students mobilized in colleges and universities. New groups saw a rise in this period, like the Islamic Students' League of 1983, the J&K Mass Movement of 1986, in which women were active members. Women even formed their own resistance groups, such as Dukhtaran-e-Millat in 1982 and Muslim Khawateen Markaz in 1987. A critical juncture of Kashmir's history were the 1987 elections, in which a significant section of resistance groups participated for the first time. Because of this participation, the elections were rigged and political repression increased exponentially. The rigging was responded with violence as militancy peaked during this period, and the Indian state countered it with heavy militarization. Incidents of massacres, enforced disappearances, sexual violence became widespread as a means of control. One cannot speak of Kashmiri women's resistance and not speak of the struggle for justice and dignity of the survivors of Kunan Poshpora mass rape. It was one of the many instances of targeted sexual violence by the Indian state forces. After the FIR was lodged in 1991, the government-appointed inquiry committees dismissed the claims of rape and torture as accusations and defamation. The case was unofficially closed as untraced, and no legal action was taken against the perpetrators. In 2004, the survivors approached the SHRC, and about 7 years later, in 2011, there was a reinvestigation of the case. Several women played a crucial role in the reopening and reinvestigation of the case in 2013. They mobilized about 100 women to file a petition in the lower court in Kupwara. No investigations were carried out even after the directions by the Sessions Court of Kupwara. The state and the army even filed petitions against investigation and compensation to the women. The abrogation of Article 370, resulting in the dissolution of SHRC in 2019, has also impeded any developments in the case. In the 3-decade-long journey, 6 victim survivors died in the struggle for justice. The 1998 International Criminal Tribunal for Rwanda judgment clearly defines rape as a crime against humanity. In Kashmir, however, the findings of various commissions of inquiry into violations of human rights were often not rendered into the public domain. Reportedly, since 2003, only 217 inquiries have been commissioned. With the little information that has been made available in such case proceedings, it is evident that these perpetrators have never been punished appropriately for these crimes. Till date, no accused from the Indian Army has been tried in a civilian court. In addition to this lack of accountability, there is little or no conversation that addresses the social challenges of the survivors of sexual violence. The incident of Kunan Poshpora has tainted generations of the two villages, even the ones who were not born in 1991. The women from these villages have had to settle for a life in obscurity. Despite these challenges, Kashmiri women continue to resist and question in their own ways. Their responses to political repression are always evolving, as seen in the new wave of mobilizations post 2008. Clearly, for Kashmiri women, personal freedom cannot be separated from their political freedom. On Kashmiri Women's Resistance Day, we think of the hundreds and thousands of women and their unimaginable struggle for survival and freedom.